Business management. Business management. SLHL, it's all the same. Once again, just like typical IB fashion, the subject is poop. It's big, massive poop. It's so poopy poop. If you have a competent teacher, it might be fun. But even then, even if the teacher is extremely competent, I would perhaps say it's still bad. It's still poop. It's still massive poop. It's so poopy poop. I don't get how you could ever give a student this. It is poop. It's massive poop. You can just poop on it. That's what business management is. Simply put, the Pearson's mathematics book is around, for AA high level, it's around 1,000 pages. Most of those pages you would never use in your entire life just because the math problem is so absolutely sophisticated half the damn time that you're not going to be able to solve it, number one. Secondly, for some unknown reason, I do not know why, they do not sell another book that's also with the package of the book that has a step-by-step guide of how to do every single problem. I don't know why, but they just do it. Sometimes they don't even have answers to a problem because they just assume that, oh, you'll be able to do it on your own, which I call bullcrap, and I do not know why they don't do these things. If you put a lot of effort into a book, why not try to go the extra mile and actually give a crap about how to do things in the first place? Also, they probably have a step-by-step guide somewhere, but they just don't publish it. I don't know why. You ask me. Just like that book, the business management book, well, for the concurrent 11th and 12th grader, and perhaps for the program for another 1 or 2 years or something, is poop. Massive poop. By Alex Thompson or something. I forgot the person's name. The thing about that book is that it's extremely extensive. Extremely. I will not deny that one bit. It is extremely extensive in terms of learning about business and everything. But I'll basically tell you this. There are 5 chapters in the book that you actually more or less have to learn about, but even then in high level, you're not really learning all 5 chapters. Sometimes you're just kind of skimming over certain things because it's not that bad. However, the biggest criticism is that the book is too extensive. Simply put, it is too extensive. Chapter 1 and 2 could be immediately omitted as being useless chapters, I would basically have to say, because those chapters, as an 11th and 12th grader, you should basically have the brain capacity to look through it and say, I can reason myself through most of these things. Is basically the thing I'm going to tell you. It is not hard, right? If you have any idea of anything that has to do with economics, money, and business in general, you should be able to blaze through chapter 1 and 2. Okay? Simply put, you should be able to blaze through it. It's not going to be that bad. But here's where the sign if your teacher is incompetent or not comes in. Chapter 3, finance, and chapter 4, marketing. We're not on chapter 4 more or less just yet, because it's extremely iffy, and sadly we do have a very incompetent teacher that disallows us to really do anything. And so what ends up happening is that we barely know anything what's happening in class half the damn time. In chapter 3, I barely remember anything that has happened, nor do I remember that we have ever jumped onto chapter 4, but we are there for the time. Simply put, we have extremely incompetent teacher, sadly, right? But from my general experience, even not experiencing the class fully, because half the time now I simply do other subjects within the class. Yes, I am guilty to admit that. However, from what I could generally see, chapter 1 and 2 is completely useless. But chapter 3 and 4 and 5 are extremely extensive chapters that will actually slap you for once with extremely new info a lot of the time, using a lot of ratios and calculation that are used in business that number one, I would tell you this, perhaps most people don't even know these things exist. Number 2, because they are so niche, a lot of the time people already have formulas and things that they simply know how to do on Google Sheets already, and they just go from there because they already have all the formula plugged in and everything. They just need to drag across and everything, and then boom, all the finance is done. Number one. Secondly, a lot of time these things are like done monthly, if not yearly or something like that. So it's just, yeah, learning about these things are definitely useful. However, if you do not put it into context, which is what teachers are supposed to do, and what the book should do in the first few paragraphs that it write out, which, surprise, surprise, it does not. A lot of the time, well, it does semi, but it's not extremely good about it. But once again, I haven't read the book that much because, by Christ, it falls into the same traps as the Pearson's Mathematics AHL book. It's too extensive. Simply put, the font size is absolutely tiny and it's an entire wall of text. It's as if you're reading a 500-page book, but half the time you're not even invested into it because the formatting is so absolute dog crap that you just simply are not invested into this thing. You don't think to yourself, yeah, so that's how you do things. Half the time you read it in the context thinking, oh my god, I have to remember this for school or something, which is just, in my opinion, why? It's so crappy. That's my biggest criticism of the book. It's far too extensive, chapter 3, 4, and 5. And a lot of time, if the situation in my school stays the same, and in some other school as well, if the teacher is very incompetent, chapter 3, 4, and 5 could be very much gotten to later on, say like towards the end of the second semester in 11th grade, and 4 and 5 would probably be perhaps a little bit towards the end of the second semester as well, of 12th grade. And even then you have a lot of tests, so well, half the time I don't think you would be extremely focused on these things anyway. So when you have all these things combined, and you have the most important chapters that have the most rich amount of information at the back burner, it's kind of a sign for a bad subject. You don't put the most important thing at first, but rather the introductory bits that a lot of people know already in the first end. Why would you not put a lot of the difficult, like business is not like mathematics. You don't have to relate something to 7 different topics to learn how to actually answer it. It is learned linearly, but it is not shown with the way that they order things. So this is extremely bad. So how the heck do you survive business? Google. Once again, it's my favorite thing. Google half the thing that you're actually going to learn, right? It will give you not only a lot of time, a lot of context as to what is going on, but the downfall of, sadly, Google in this case is that the book seems to use very specified terms on its own. What I basically mean by that is a lot of times the internet would say one thing and then the book would say the exact same thing, but with different wordings. And this is massive spacing for confusion. And because of that, what I basically recommend is look at specified areas in the book. You don't look at the book as a whole in terms of reading with its context and all the other things like that, because it's just a massive wall of text that will just slap you in the face. Oh yeah, I remember the author's name now, Peter Thompson, and some other people. Sorry. But it will slap you in the face with so much information. So I would basically say whatever you're learning and whatever you're confused about, search it up and more or less look at it in terms of specified areas. Right? Sadly, on the internet there isn't massive courses that would give you all the entire thing, the entirety of the book in terms of extremely easy to digest lecture, like the physics course. But yes, it's really sadly this is where the downfall happens, that the internet will not help you 100%, right? However, a lot of the time, because of how business is, you can work electronically a lot more. And I'll tell you this, when you actually work electronically and you semi-know what you're doing and what these or that things are, it does become a lot 12 easier. Hours. So basically, my tip to you is research online most of the time and look at specified areas of the book. You're not looking at the book as a whole. You're not looking at a whole section. You're simply looking at the definition. You're picking out a certain paragraph and you're analyzing both of them in conjunction with one another to create the desired meaning and the desired outcome. You're not looking at the entire book as a whole. You're more or less trying to brain your way through half of a chapter. And that would reduce a lot of time and give you a lot less stress in dealing with business management. Because sadly, it's not the best of the best subject. It's simply put, just like all the other IB subject, too extensive and too little resources to help you. Other than that, the rant is finished. So simply put, try to survive through it.